Back in Indianapolis at the Scouting Combine, our next guest has been a cornerstone of the Steelers organization for 21 years. He is General Manager Kevin Colbert. Kevin, welcome back. How are you?
Thanks, guys. It's always fun to be here and get started with the Combine.
Here we go, baby. And congratulations, contract keeping you around. You're on a year-to-year plan now, but you made it clear you've got no intent to go anywhere else. I know a lot of people would like to say, oh, the Carolina Panthers fans, hey, let's get Kevin Colbert. You're staying with the Steelers indefinitely?
Yeah, I mean, I've never had any other thoughts, quite honestly. It's really just a personal preference that, Mr. Rooney Art was very agreeable to, which was great. And, quite honestly, I mean, being out of the playoffs 2 years in a row, we have something to prove that we can get back to it. And that's what we're going to take this year for. But personally, it was a preference. Professionally, that's where we are. And that's, fortunately, we're able to do it. So we just have to deliver on 2020.
Mike Tomlin, just right off the bat, would you say it was one of the best years you've seen him coach since he's been in the Pittsburgh Steelers?
There's no question. Coach never said, oh, no. It was always let's go. And that's the way he operates. Coach, Ben's done for the year. All right, what's next? Coach, we lost Stephon Tuitt. Okay, let's go. And he really relayed that to his team. His team responded. We weren't good enough. We know that. 8-8. I mean, as good as it wasn't good enough to get there, and that drives all of us crazy, quite honestly. But Coach did a remarkable job of making us competitive, but he'll be the first to tell you he's not satisfied.
The Ben Roethlisberger situation, I saw that you said earlier today at your press conference you expect him to be even better this year. What makes you think that as he gets closer and closer to 40 and coming off of that elbow surgery, what makes you think he actually will be improved than what he's been in the past?
Well, again, and this, Chris, you sit out a season, your body, physically, you got a little bit of a break.
Right.
You lose some things timing-wise, rust and all that. Sure, that'll be a factor, but physically, he didn't have a wear and tear of 1 year on his body. The surgery, when you have any type of injury, it's hard to say when that injury occurred, but you don't know what was leading up to that. Was a ligament? Was a muscle? Was a bone weak? Who knows? But, we're optimistic that coming off of surgery, his arm will be better. His body will be better. We know his competitive spirit will be better because he wouldn't do this if it wasn't.
Right.
So that's why I'm encouraged that he could even be better.
Now, behind that, you had Mason Rudolph, who had some good and some bad, and Duck, same thing. It was some good and some bad. Are you going to stand pat there behind Big Ben, or do you think you might have to bolster that position for the just in case Ben gets hurt again?
No, I mean, coming out of the preseason, Mason earned a number 2 spot.
Right.
He outplayed Joshua, and we were able to trade Josh. Of course, when we trade him and Ben gets hurt.
Yeah, right. You're like, I wish we had him still.
Yeah, because Josh is an NFL quarterback.
Right.
But Mason proved in the preseason that we thought he was our best option as number 2. As a second-year player, first-year starter, he was 5-3.
Yeah.
And most backup quarterbacks, if you can get a 5-3 record, a 10-6 or a 10-6 projected over 16, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, you're right.
Who's to say he would have been 5-3 had he played more games? We don't know.
Sure.
The most encouraging thing about Mason was he started off okay. He hit a rough stretch. Coach made the change as everybody knew he would and had to do.
Right.
Mason didn't like it. He was disappointed, but he was challenged. And the best thing was when he got back on the field against the Jets, he probably played the best that we had seen him play. So he took that challenge and accepted it and was better.
Right.
So moving in, we wish he could have finished that game. He got hurt. But, no, we're encouraged by that. Devlin Hodges did a representable job. He was 3-3.
Yeah.
And we're not going to discount a guy like Paxton Lynch.
Right.
Paxton has the physical abilities of a first-round player.
Sure.
We picked him up, during the season. Could he get in up to speed? No, it wasn't that time.
Yeah.
But with a full off season, we throw him into the mix, we're going to feel good about that position.
Right.
The Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph incident got a second life a couple of weeks ago after Myles Garrett was reinstated. He said what he had to say. Mason Rudolph's lawyer has suggested there could be litigation against Garrett for defamation based upon the allegation Mason used a racial slur. Does the organization have a preference as to whether or not Mason just lets it go and we all move forward? Or does the organization think if he believes his rights were violated, he should take Myles Garrett to court and fight it out there?
Yeah, we thought Coach did a great job when he addressed both questions in his last interview. about the situation. And the most significant thing he said during that interview was, we all need to move forward. And we will, as the Steelers, move on from this, and we have, and that's where it ends. It was addressed by Coach, and we've all moved on.
All right, I want to hit on some free agency stuff. You got some decisions to make, but before we get there, I got to ask you this because it just popped into my head. Le'Veon Bell told everybody during the season that his
can't talk about Le'Veon Bell, you know that.
Oh yeah, I'm an idiot. Damn it.
Ask the other question.
Damn it. Okay, back to free agency.
I'm the tampering insurance.
Damn, I was totally going down Le'Veon Bell lane, and I forgot. That's my first time of the Combine week.
I can give you a generic, real answer to that. At a trade deadline, my job is to provide the organization with this is who is available. So anytime. And I do that. That's my job. I have to know these players are available. So we're going to check every player that we think is available, and that's really the situations and how those things grow. Who knows? But it's my job to provide that information.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer there. We can read between the lines of what that was there. But you got a guy like Bud Dupree. How do you balance this out in free agency this year? I mean, because he had a year where you'd say he's one of the, in the upper echelons of edge defenders. Now, he had some years before that where I'd go, I don't think he reached his potential. How do you balance it out with that type of player? Was it a money year? But, what is it?
Every time, a player gets near free agency and they put together that year, everybody's like, oh, it was a contract year.
Right.
Could it be? Sure.
Yeah.
But we thought Bud was ascending. Coach had flipped he and TJ. We saw better results out of him in 2018. We were encouraged by that. Him and TJ together is really a dynamic duo.
Yes, it is.
And we want to keep that together, and we're very encouraged. Look, Bud met the challenge. He had a great year.
Yeah.
And the one constant, with everything that can go on, is we want Bud to finish his career with the Steelers. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get that done.
Yeah.
We had Juju Smith-Schuster at the Super Bowl, and we asked him about Antonio Brown and how the things we've seen publicly over the last year mesh with what he experienced privately with Antonio Brown. How big of a disconnect have you seen between the guy you knew behind the scenes in Pittsburgh versus everything that's played out over the past year?
And Coach addressed this as well in that same interview, and it will never change. Antonio Brown will always be a Pittsburgh Steeler in our minds from that personal standpoint. We'll always be there to support him when he needs help, if he needs help, and that'll never change. But as Antonio Brown, 84, AB, the football player, no, we've moved on from that, and we're comfortable with that. But our support of him as a person moving forward, that'll never change. It never changes really for any of our players that move on from us.
But when you see and hear what's gone on this past year, does it give you a level of concern, like something's not right here? He needs our help. We wish he would reach out for our help.
Maybe he saw this a lot. Maybe we don't even know.
Yeah, you know what? When we had Antonio was the best worker on our practice field, the most competitive guy on the game field. There was never any question about that. And we knew Antonio Brown, the person, as well. And we tried to help him grow as a professional football player, and he did during his time with us. What happened after that, I really can't address because I don't know all the day in and day out issues.
Right.
But we know and he knows that he will always be one of us, and we're always going to be there to support him.
Well, Kevin, we appreciate some of your time. Congratulations on 21 years and counting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you guys almost got there last year with a roster that was held together by duct tape and glue, and this year with a healthier crew. We expect to see you guys playing in January, and I'm sure you do as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Great year.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.